Hello everyone. I will be teaching you about the post-transcriptional modifications of mRNA in case of eukaryotes in this class. First, we should know how exactly transcription and translations are operated in case of the eukaryotic cell. This is the typical eukaryotic cell, which has a distinct nucleus. Transcription takes place exclusively in the nucleus, and after the transcription, the product, that is RNA, is sent out of the nucleus or to the cytosol for the translation. Now you can see that there is a double-stranded DNA. This DNA undergo transcription to produce the single-stranded RNA. The RNA undergo, here the RNA that is produced is called as primary transcript or hnRNA. hnRNA means heterogeneous nuclear RNA. This undergo processing. After processing, the precise RNA is sent out of the nucleus, that is into the cytosol, where this is recognized by the ribosomes and it is translated to form the proteins. This is how the RNA is transported across the nuclear membrane. In addition, I just spoke to you about a process where the primary transcript becomes matured mRNA. So I am going to emphasize on the process of conversion of primary transcript to the mature mRNA. Here, as I said, the product of eukaryotic transcription is generally non-functional and it is a nascent RNA, or it can also be called it as primary transcript or heterogeneous nuclear RNA or pre-mRNA. It is called with various names by various authors. So, generally the RNA that is produced, the mRNA that is produced is huge and it needs to be processed inside the nucleus before it is translated. So you should always remember post-transcriptional modifications takes place in the nucleus before they are transported out of it. So this is the diagrammatic representation which I have drawn to explain you how exactly RNA is processed. So this is the 5' end of the RNA, the other side is the 3' end of the RNA. In this RNA, it has exons and introns. Exon means it is the coding region that is derived from the gene. So it codes for specific amino acids. Intron is generally referred as the non-coding part of the RNA. So basically, as I said, the immature or the primary transcript is not precise. It is lengthier. It contains some non-coding sequences as well. And 5' end and 3' end of the RNA does not have any recognition elements such as. So as I said in the previous slide, there are 3 types of processing, RNA mRNA processing. 3 important types, that is capping, polyadenylation and splicing. In case of the mRNA, that is the primary transcript, in the first step it undergo capping. Capping means the addition of the 7-methyl guanosine to the 5' end of the mRNA is called as capping. So I have indicated this capping as a triangle, purple color triangle. So capping is essential to protect the mRNA from the exonuclease action, and also it is essential if this mRNA has to be recognized by the translation machinery. If there is a cap, then only it is recognized by the translation machinery. Therefore, the first step is capping. Once after the mRNA has been capped, the next thing is the polyadenylation process. Polyadenylation means addition of adenosine nucleotides to the 3' end of the RNA is nothing but polyadenylation. You can see that there is exon, intron, and exon. Additionally, there is the addition of several adenosine nucleotides at the 3' end. This process is called as polyadenylation. Next is splicing. Splicing means it is the process of removal of introns from the mRNA and joining of all the exons together is nothing but the splicing. Now you can see that all the introns have been removed and only exons are present in the mRNA. Now we call this as the mature mRNA. To call it as a mature mRNA, it should undergo three processes. One is capping, tailing, and splicing. You can see there is a cap, 5' cap. You can also see there is a 3', several adenosine residues, and you have the mRNA has no introns, it has only exons. So this one we call it as mature mRNA. Now I am going to take each and every process. I am going to explain you how exactly these things takes place. The first process that I am explaining you here now is capping. So before I proceed with the capping, you should know some basics about eukaryotic transcription, which I have explained in my previous video. So basically, mRNA is transcribed. To give you some hint about this, mRNA coding genes are transcribed by RNA polymerase II. RNA polymerase II has a tail, C-terminal domain of the largest subunit of the RNA polymerase. It has a tail. It has YSPTSPS. YSPTSPS is the amino acid sequence, which I have already spoken to you in the previous video. So fifth serine residue is phosphorylated by a transcription factor called as 2H, and the second serine residue is phosphorylated by another transcription factor called as PTFB. So I will just connect this concept with capping so that you will get to know why exactly I am talking to you about capping. In case of the eukaryotes, once the transcription is initiated, you can see that the RNA polymerase is moving, the mRNA is being synthesized, there is a RNA polymerase tail. RNA polymerase tail is phosphorylated using TF2H and the other kinase which I spoke to in the previous slide. Very important thing is the fifth serine residue that is phosphorylated acts as a docking site, or it acts as the binding site for a specialized enzyme called as capping enzyme. So it is very important to remember, among YSPT-SPS, the fifth serine residue is phosphorylated. This phosphorylated serine residue is recognized by a protein called as the capping enzyme. So it is like RNA polymerase is carrying this capping enzyme through its phosphorylation. So this is where the importance of the phosphorylation lies. Now, what is the function of this capping enzyme? Let me explain you. If you have followed this picture, I will draw the continuation of this picture. RNA polymerase is moving. There is an initiation site. In this picture, RNA polymerase has moved little bit further, and you can see that the mRNA has grown little bit more. That means the transcription bubble has moved towards the gene, and the mRNA, the 5' end of the mRNA comes in contact with the capping enzyme that is present with the phosphorylated serine of the YSPT-SPS. you can see that there is an interaction between the mRNA and the capping enzyme. Once the capping enzyme faces this 5' end of the mRNA, immediately it adds a cap. The capping enzyme immediately adds a cap at the 5' end of the mRNA once it encounters it. So you have to imagine a condition that as soon as the transcription is initiated, maybe when the the length of the RNA reaches 10 to 15 nucleotides, it comes in the RNA comes in contact with the capping enzyme, where the RNA immediately is added with the cap at the 5' end. So a big question that arises here is, what is cap? What is the biochemistry of cap? We also got to know that there is a cap to protect mRNA from the 5' end degradation, as well as to recognize if there is a cap at the 5' end, then only the mRNA can be recognized by the translation machinery. So I am telling you something about cap. What is this cap? How exactly the capping enzyme adds? Capping enzyme adds the cap to the mRNA. So I will explain you about the biochemistry of cap using the whiteboard. Yes, we have understood that the addition of the cap is essential to protect the mRNA. But how? What is the biochemistry of the cap? Now, I have drawn some image to explain you about the capping process. Let's assume this is the mRNA that has to be capped. So as you know, the mRNA, the first nucleotide of the mRNA carries 3 phosphate groups, 1, 2, 3, alpha, beta and gamma. So this is the first nucleotide, second nucleotide, third nucleotide. So all the other nucleotides are interconnected by phosphodiester linkages. So the first one has 3 phosphates and they are left free. Now cap is, biochemically cap is 7-methyl guanosine is nothing but the cap of the mRNA. So you should also observe that there is 5' to 3' phosphodiester bond between the nucleotides. Now during the addition process or the formation of the cap, guanine or guanosine triphosphate is used. This is guanine nucleotide with ribose and 3 phosphates, guanosine triphosphate. The enzyme here is RNA triphosphatase. As the name itself suggests, it is a phosphatase that removes the phosphate group from the RNA. Here the RNA is this, which has the terminal phosphate group, that is gamma phosphate group, that has been removed. If the RNA is acted upon by RNA triphosphatase, the gamma phosphate is removed and the RNA is left out with alpha and beta phosphates. Now alpha and this beta phosphate of the mRNA attacks the alpha phosphate of the guanosine triphosphate, which I have taken in the previous step. So this attacks the alpha phosphate of the guanosine triphosphate, and this reaction is catalyzed by guanylyl transferase. So during this process, you can see this, the beta and gamma phosphates are have been removed from the guanosine triphosphate, so which results in the formation of the triphosphate bridge between the guanine or the guanosine with the first nucleotide of the mRNA. Now, this is very unusual. You are looking at 5' to 5' triphosphate bridge that is established between the guanine as well as the first base or the first nucleotide of the mRNA. You are looking at the 5' to 5' triphosphate bridge, which is very unusual. So after this, the next enzyme is methyl transferases. The enzymes are rounded with the green color ink. So methyl transferases. Methyl transferase adds the methyl group to the 7th position or the 7th nitrogen of the guanine ring, in the guanine ring. So which results in, this is called as 7-methyl guanosine. So 7-methyl guanosine has established the triphosphate bridge between the 5' end of the guanine nucleotide with the first nucleotide of the mRNA. This is called as the cap of the mRNA. I will show you the structure of the complete structure of the cap in the next picture. So this is the exact structure of the cap. So biochemically, as I said, cap is 7-methyl guanosine. As I said, so there is a formation of the 5' to 5' triphosphate bridge between the first nucleotide of the mRNA and between the 7-methyl guanosine. So I'll tell you here, base 1, base 2, it is nothing but this portion is from the mRNA and this is from the 7-methyl guanosine. If I number the carbon atoms, so first carbon, that is 1', 2', 3', 4' and 5'. So fifth carbon atom is involved in the interaction with the first base or the first nucleotide of the mRNA. So if I number the carbon atoms of the ribose sugar of the first nucleotide of the mRNA, so first carbon atom, second carbon atom, third carbon atom, fourth carbon atom and the fifth carbon atom. So 5'. So this is 5' to 5'. So the interaction has been taken place between 5' to 5' and this interaction is triphosphate bridge. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 phosphates. So this is called as 5' to 5' triphosphate bridge. 5' to 5'. This is very unusual among the nucleic acids. So one more thing is, if you notice what is the interaction between the first nucleotide and the second nucleotide, I have numbered again the carbon atoms. First carbon atom, second carbon atom, third carbon atom, fourth carbon atom and fifth carbon atom. So with the preceding molecule, first carbon atom and second carbon atom, third carbon atom. So there is a phosphodiester bond formation between the fifth carbon atom to the third carbon atom. So this is called as 5' to 3' phosphodiester bond formation. But in the case of the between the 7-methyl guanosine and the first nucleotide, there is a 5' to 5' triphosphate which is called as the reverse orientation. Of course, we don't find it in case of any of the nucleic acids. So this is called as the reverse orientation, and which results in the resistance towards many of the 5' exonucleases. So this structural diversion helps the mRNA to protect it from the exonucleases as well as to be recognized by the translation machinery of the cell. Adenosine nucleotides to the 3' end of the mRNA. So you can see in this picture that it is adding the adenosine nucleotides in the template independent manner. There is no DNA RNA template to give direction. for the poly-A polymerase. It itself is adding several adenosine residues. The number of adenosine residues that are added can vary from 50 to 300 nucleotides. Next, in the next process, once after the addition of these adenosine residues to the 3' end, so the pink color balls indicates it is a protein called as poly-A binding proteins, or sometimes it is also called as PABP. So these proteins recognize the adenosine residues and begins to interact with these adenosine residues. Therefore, after the recognition of this poly-A tail by the PABPs, immediately CPSF protein as well as poly-A polymerase has been released from the growing chain of mRNA. So this mRNA is considered as, with this mRNA has the 5' cap and as well as 3' tail. The only process that is left out is the removal of the introns, which is again a broad topic or the huge topic which can be discussed in a separate video. So this is how the polyadenylation has been done to the mRNA. Thank you.